Hello everyone. Today I want to focus on the USDT dominance chart, right? To explain why it is so important, why we should track it instead of money supply and all that to assess strength from BDC, right? But before that, I want to take a quick look at the market situation. I've been posting it on Twitter, but for those that would rather see kind of a extended version of my posts, here it is. So, as I mentioned, these 95.6 more or less, right? These high time frame support, again, it was support here, and this was support for like 2 months or so, even 3 months. So of course, the next time BTC revisited it, it would be high time frame resistance, right? First of all, we started talking back here about reclaiming these 91 around 90 91k 92 this supply back here. It became supply area, right? People sold this bounced, right? But here it was demand, right? So that's why it acted as support. These big wicks reflect that it was support back here, right? So the moment it broke, it would become resistance until fully reclaimed. And this move, right, was really powerful. We broke above it, and for you can count this, for 3 days, we retested it and hold it, right, and held it. But at the same time, we rejected here at the next high time frame level, which again, I was expecting it. It's just pure charting knowledge. There's nothing new or nothing special about this. And also because the daily was getting a bit extended, especially the 4 hour, right? Which I have already shown in Twitter as well, right? The 4 hour, which started with this impulsive move from 84k, which I said if he hovered around here while reclaiming the 200 moving average, both on the daily and the 4 hour chart, it could be a launch pad. And yes, it was. This move started getting overheated here, right? It corrected a little bit, but then it pushed again. And this second move was like too early, right? I didn't expect this kind of move so fast, perhaps some chop here, but perhaps this was some kind of future leverage move, but it wasn't strong enough, right? It was like this first leg was exhausted, and you have these divergence, right? Playing out right at resistance. All good, expected. In fact, I draw this potential path, right? Because again, nothing is a straight line here unless it's a blow off top. And even then, it depends on the time frame because I can show you a blow off top on the weekly when you can see no wick in red, but in between you can see these daily moves or even these 4 hour moves if you go into a lower time frame, which is noise in my opinion. That's why I don't really care about this. I said I wouldn't really care, right? From the moment, because if I open the weekly, do you think this is any kind of choppy move? Right? No, it isn't because this is the weekly. So everything that happens in between these weeks, daily or 4 hours, it's pure noise. The moment we crack above this, I don't really care about the daily chops and daily moves are even lower, right? So all good, just cool off. In fact, this path, I was expecting. I'm not saying this is what I really expect to happen, but this is normal, right? We rejected here 88, and I said that we needed a higher low, sorry, which was this one. And I said we could attack 88 or perhaps 90k, and it was straight to 95 pretty much. Retested and held. Tried again, failed. So if we tested again like a double bottom kind of move, we're good to go to test again. But perhaps, I said perhaps the daily needs some cool off, perhaps just chopping between these 92, 95.6. The daily comes back down a little bit, retest here, and have another push to start reaching these kind of overheating areas, right? And perhaps then start the new bearish move. That's why, even though people get very impatient, because again, everyone wants money and wants it now, this kind of resets, right, without such quick divergences is good, because it means the move is legit. It's not propelled by futures or by perpetuals, leverage, whatever. So it's healthier. That's when sometimes people say a pullback is healthier, but sometimes they just say it in just some random time or random area. I mean, perhaps they are just reflecting that they missed the move and they want a kind of pullback to keep going higher. Don't fall for that, right? People didn't buy here because they were scared, and now that we are here, we have the confirmation they want a pullback because they believe if there's a pullback after this, it's just to go back straight back up. No one knows. In fact, I wouldn't like to see 90k lost, but if we do, even just coming back down to 84 wouldn't be that bad. But I wouldn't like to see that, to be honest. So, all good for now. Again, a pullback here to test again this demand area would be good. So, jumping into the USDT chart, I want to say first that I posted this is my macro, the whole cycle, right? My macro USDT dominance chart that I posted first on December 10th. That's why it looks a little bit crowded, because I wanted to summarize in just one post, one image, everything I wanted to show, right? Again, this chart is inversely correlated to BTC. So if USDT stopping, BTC is bottoming. We're going to see that now. So here I posted the different levels just as a guidance, right? This is the famous 2021 top in May, right? It found its bottom here. Then we have this summer bottom for BTC, or for crypto, was these huge wicks, right? In crypto, we saw this kind of, let me go back to that area, weeks, bullish weeks. So of course, here we saw bearish wicks, like rejections, right? The RSI couldn't climb either. You can say this is a flat divergence, right? And then this is November top. So it was a high low from this one, which was a lower high. Sorry, should have been a lower high here for BTC. It was RSI wise, right? So I posted that these was a potential local top, right? I said that it is very oversold in the weekly at a very important high time frame, right? Support here, resistance here, reclaim a support, held a support, and this bounce showed that perhaps was going to act as support again. But I also posted here that this was the distribution, top for USDT, bear for BTC, right? BTC. This was the accumulation, the bottom forming with these bullish divergence, huge bullish divergence, by the way. And we have these bearish divergence here. Since this is the weekly, that's why I posted today that perhaps people are too impatient with divergences. I have the feeling that some people expect them to act or to be reflected in price immediately, but it depends on the time frame. If you have a 4-hour divergence that we have seen on BTC, right? You have these. Yes, started on Tuesday, manifested here in April, and of course it's going to reflect soon because everybody's 4 hours. I mean, it's going to be a matter of days. If we show the daily, it's going to be perhaps a matter of weeks to start reflecting. If it's going to be weeks, it's going to be a matter of months, like we did here, right? The first divergence started here from these oversold levels in June, perhaps to these, we can say these level, right? Already reclaiming this, or toying with the idea of reclaiming this. Perhaps you wait for some kind of divergence to assess the strength, not just the oversold level or the first reclaim, because that could chop you out unless you buy a spot. So these first divergence, we could say here, was in September, it started in June, right? Like 3 months. And the confirmation, the second strongest, that would make these moves stronger, was in November, December. Like, look, more than 6 months, because it's on the weekly, it's building on the weekly. That's why it's so powerful, that it marks the end of a bear market and the start of a bull market. If this was a 4-hour chart, perhaps all that could be reflected in just one weekly candle, right? It's a strong move on the 4-hour, perhaps it runs for a few days, and in the end 1 or 2 weeks, but that's it. And then we come back because the higher time frame isn't still ready to change the trend, right? If we go to BTC, if we go to the daily, right, we have these summer 2024. We can just I'm gonna reduce this to here. Daily from August to September, right? Whole month. Within a bull market, like continuation. It takes time to materialize, right? We have some chop, try, chop, blah. The trend is already changed. That's why I believed here we have the first divergence. Sorry. Here we have the first divergence from these oversold levels, and I thought, and I said that perhaps this was the bottom. But price-wise, it wasn't still ready. It wasn't still the bottom, but RSI-wise, it was. Strength was building. The change was here. That's why I say that these made me believe even more that this divergence has big legs for a change. But it started in late February until mid-April, 1.5 months. Of course, it takes some time to fully reflect, but when it does, the move is big, right? So going back to here, I thought that this is the weekly. Okay, first sign, second sign, the strength of the support level, but for confirmation, this was, I say again, mid-December. If I go to BTC chart, mid-December, we already saw that here on the 10th, right? We already have weakness forming for a whole month. So this is not just, and you can see again, these divergences extending up to here, and then with a flat even up to here. It was a 2 month. That's why I posted the last time we had something like that. It was in January 2024, and it ended in the ETF Sell the News event. Early December, early January, a month. Was forming here, it was losing strength, right? You could have exited early or whatever. So it takes time. That's why people believe, I don't care as long as price moves up. The same thing, but the opposite happens here. Man, yes, a divergence, but price keeps going down. What's going on? The difference here is you don't care here because it keeps going up if that's what you want. But here you get impatient, frustrated, but perhaps you're back holding a downtrend and you are impatient and just want it to be over. But the fact is, it's the same kind of divergence, the same kind of duration, and the same kind of resolution. The difference is your emotions. That's it, right? So I posted it could happen this, and this is the chart without editing, right? I posted a potential path, right? Again, this is not time-wise or levels. I just used these kind of metrics. Okay, I mean, if we make a lower high, these should break and pass on the higher time frame. We retest here, we get rejected here, and we have our final move. I don't know if it's gonna be this, but though I think this is too much this cycle, but I don't know. I don't have any data to support that, right? Perhaps it's just 2.4 would be massive, but for now, all I expect from this lower high is 377 again. I can't just expect anything else because that's too far, right? Like that's a stretch. So I posted here the lower high. I'm gonna just move it a little bit, right? This was the path. Again, I haven't edited this. It went a little bit higher, but compared to this, it's still a lower high. And when you have this kind of structure, right? If this is a top, then the moment it broke, again, I posted that the range was lost, right? Of course, it can bounce here, and perhaps many people just think, okay, this is just a fake out or whatever. But no, the moment you lose this, after some weakness for weeks, this is January, and this was October 23, February 24, like a whole year. You don't lose such range to come back as quickly. So this is a bear flag. The same way when you are in an uptrend, same way when you are in an uptrend, you can have a bull flag, right? And then you resume. So this is a downtrend confirmed. You can have a bear flag, like an attempt for price to come back, and then the moment it breaks, like it did here, confirms the downtrend, right? Break to the downtrend confirmed. And this was October 24. So if you wait until here to buy your candle 8, you could expect to buy here. Perhaps you don't have such risk appetite, right? So this was clear downtrend. We needed a lower high. If we had made a higher high, the cycle to me was over. We were already entering these bear market ranges, right? So what do I expect now? This 377. We just had the weekly break below. The same thing happened in September, right? From this kind of range. October, we lost this bear flag. This was the move for BTC. How do I know it is over here? Well, I have shown that BTC on the daily was showing weakness. USDT on the daily was December, right? Let me just, yes, was founding bottom and forming a potential, yes, a divergence from November to December. Again, it's inversely correlated. So if BTC is showing weakness, USDT is showing strength. So you might ask, why do I need this chart then? Yeah, I mean, I can just, again, know what this chart is doing just by checking BTC. Yes, you can. But to identify potential tops and bottoms, like happened here, I go to the USDT chart and I see where it's bouncing, where it's forming this divergence. So this makes me think that perhaps this level is going to be support again. What price is BTC at this moment? 110K, something like that. So that makes me think that that could be the bottom price for BTC. Back here, March 2022, BTC wasn't 110K, right? But USDT was showing some support before, so perhaps it was going to be support here. I don't care what BTC prices is, but this is another conference point. So that's why this chart helps us identify potential bottoms or tops of BTC. The moment I posted here and that this was a deviation in summer 2024, steady deviation, what do you think that BTC was doing? Bullish divergence, right? So here USDT, after this is the bear market bottom, this is the daily chart. That's why it doesn't look as this one, right? The moment it lost this bear flag, this is the bear flag, it entered in this new range, right? After this top entered in this new range, faked out, printing a divergence, bearish divergence. That's why I think this is a deviation, because it's going up but showing weakness. So this is not a reliable move. This is a trap. The same way these looked like a trap for BTC, it kept going down, but no, it was building strength, right? And then we get to February 24 to April 7th. What is BTC doing? February, April, building this divergence, right? USDT, again, just when it tried to peak above this range, it forms weakness. So this is not a strong move. Stock RSI also overheated. And if that's not enough, it makes another lower high. So what do I expect now? First, this kind of intermediate level, right? Because it offers some kind of chop around before here, right? Not here, but it was resistance, kind of try to hold it, resist it. Yes, it was some kind of indecision in the market. So this is the first one, 4.5. So the key here is the time we get here. Perhaps it's 100, 102, something like that for BTC, right? Perhaps by the time that comes, BTC is battling this 102K level, right? And why is this chart important, right? Imagine what USDT does is this. If it makes a higher low, right, these could be broken again, or perhaps just another double top for USDT, double bottom for BTC. But I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a strong bounce, right? What I would like to see is taking a breather here, like it did here, or it could just go straight down to this support like it did here. That's why I don't try to outsmart the market on the daily. I don't care. What if I try to anticipate this move and I sell thinking that it's gonna retest this, right? I need to see some signs before that. Otherwise, I'm not gonna try to be super smart. So this is intermediate target, and for now, this is the top target. That could coincide with BTC. If it gets rejected here and USDT pushes back here, it could make a high low. And for BTC, could make a lower high. And this could be perhaps a dead cat bounce and we roll over, right? I don't like that. Perhaps we roll over to 90K or 90 something and we bounce. But anyway, these are my two targets for now, right? In a higher time frame, if I go to the weekly, I don't care about this intermediate target, this choppy area, which is the 450 that I mentioned. Yeah, yes, we can have a few wicks coincide with whatever. I don't care, because if we enter in rocket mode, we could just keep pushing down like we did here. Whole move from February, right? January 24 to March. We reach these oversold levels on the weekly. And we reach very overheated levels back in March. I'm gonna go to the weekly. Here, 88 for BTC. And the first very oversold levels for USDT in the whole cycle, the same way BTC reached the first really overheated levels in the whole cycle. And there was a daily divergence there. So it must be a daily divergence on the USDT as well, right? If we go here and we check these, look at the oversold levels on the daily as well, right? I mean, you have signs. This could be a time to de-risk. So what do I expect? 377. That's all I expect for now. Look at how accurate it was. I'm no one. I'm special, nothing like that. Just I saw this, enough confidence. So what did USDT did from them? Boom, right to the opposite side. I drew this RSI level. Faked out. Already running over, like it did here, before breaking the bear flag, right? Losing the EMA. When it lost the EMA, fake out, fake retest. Could happen here. Boom, boom, boom. Breaks the EMA. Acceleration, as I've said many times, right into oversold levels. How deep until it gets here? It depends on the acceleration. What if we have this yellow path? Insane drop. I'm not saying to 250 or whatever, but it goes below. It tries to come back, and this level that was support for all this time becomes resistant, 377. If that happens, buckle up, because at least with this very high possibility that the same thing, it lost it and became resistance here. It tested this next level on the weekly, and this was the November top level. Extreme euphoria, this level, 190, right? So this is why USDT is so important, because by the time if it happens, right, breaks 377 and we retest it, this new level could be BTC around 130K. Price discovery. How do you know how far BTC is going to, except for some Fibonacci speculation. We don't know. It's price discovery, right? That's why USDT is going to play a big role. Again, together with oversold levels here and overbought levels and divergences both here and BTC. But price-wise, you don't know with BTC, but we have some kind of price levels with USDT. Again, it's not a coincidence, and I posted this. Please look for it. I share a lot of things, and I think that they are very, very useful, and I do all this just to help you. I don't need to do this constantly. I've been doing this for me for quite some time, so I don't need to share it. I said, what if this divergence marked the top here for USDT, the bottom, peak bottom for BTC? So what if this divergence, this was the second divergence, remember that? This second divergence, I'm gonna go to the daily because I'm mixing too many charts, sorry. I hope you're following nicely. So what if these divergence, right? The confirmation for me is together with this daily, is again the bottom for BTC. What happened? It happened right at the peak bottom again, right? What else do we need? This chart is king. Big, very respectable accounts that I've been retweeting also use this. Now, many more accounts are waking up to this USDT dominance chart that it was never used before. Everyone ignored that, right? But when I saw this, I mean, this is a clear distribution top for USDT, bear market for BTC, bear flag. This is all textbook, man. These levels are going to be key. So I speculated end of wave 3, perhaps in case there's another wave 5. That's why I don't like area of waves, because you can count them very subjectively, right? So I said this could this be the cycle top target range as a range for BTC? This would be crazy. If we reach these levels, it would be crazy. Even a run again to 377 could bring so much gains, right? Here, from 5 to 377. So much money, right? In fact, from 556, look, it week to 6. When I posted it, what if this was in fact the bottom for BTC was 550? It went down to 5, and BTC went from 76, and this big bottom at 6, to 95, 20k move, and USDT dominance was just 1.20% move. You might be thinking, yes, but my alts are not moving. That's because BTC is leading, BTC isn't down. If your alts run now, yes, you might be having the short term because the move is already happening. But perhaps you regret it in the long run, because the sooner it happens, the lower the move is going to be, the shorter, the less explosive, right? Because we need much more money, as much money as we can on BTC for them to rotate into altcoins in just one final push, right? Yes, if we have some catch-up moves, then great, because the moment the old season, and I think it was going to happen, even if it's smaller, I don't care. I think we are going to have some time where alts are outperforming, even if they are full garbage, right? So it could be very big. If it happens now, BTC starts distributing, BTC dominance, distributing into altcoins without making a higher high or a new all-time high, I would think that it's an exit pump. If it happens here for a few weeks, perhaps it gets to 4.5 or 377, right? And the cycle ends here, because this was like a distribution move, right? Like an exit pump. We're not going to make a new high. BTC hasn't made it. So people get super excited because all season is happening. It's already here. And then boom. It's over, and we enter. This holds, confirm its support instead of breaking it. And bounce makes a higher high. And the cycle is over. We want BTC to go comfortably as high as possible. If it takes time, it means price is accepted at these new levels, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's great for us. And that's all we need is patience, right? And follow this chart. We just broke below the EMA. That happened in September 9th until December, right? 3 months. And it just happened in last April. May, June, July. We can, if we have euphoria, this could extend well into here. Why not? Or mid-range. Some correction and boom, Q4 last year, final hooray. Why not? It could perfectly happen, right? I'm just looking at ranges. I'm not trying to convince myself about hoping or whatever. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm sorry if I'm speaking like this, but I don't care. I'm not even checking my portfolio anymore. I'm just checking charts, right? And when the chart tells me it's over, I enter my portfolio and I press sell, and that's going to be the first time I see how much money I made, because every time I check my portfolio, that's just an emotional response that I'm gonna have. And perhaps you think it doesn't affect you. It does, right? Because the next time there's a pullback, you're gonna remember you have lost on paper, I don't know, whatever, 5, 10K, 12K, $500, I don't care, because you have the reference of your portfolio that you've been checking recently. I don't care. I just check the charts, and when I think it's over, I check my portfolio and sell, right? That's just my strategy and what I've learned to remain cold-minded, right? So again, this chart is very powerful. I'm gonna keep using it. For now, this intermediate target is good. I don't care. This is the one that I will consider selling. But if we get here and I see weakness on BTC and strength here for a potential higher low, I will try to be ready, right? But on the weekly, this has just started. This is all going to plan, right? According to the plan. Lower high, rejected pretty much like the whole cycle of this RSI level. The perfect rollover, right? From this level, the same way it happened here, with all the confluence we have seen. I think this is the cheat code, right? In fact, I have some notifications here. I think one of you here mentioned me when Maths, which by the way, she's incredibly accurate, that crypto Twitter is just charging the XY as confluence for BTC and altcoins, right? While USDT dominates the chart for cryptocurrency. It is. The XY could coincide with BTC for some times, and then people think it's completely related. We have seen, in fact, I have the chart around here. We have seen the XY. I posted this chart, and we have seen, well, by the way, I said that this was support. Let's see if it becomes resistance or not. Now it's fighting and perhaps showing some strength. I said this whole move, March to April, has really been reflected in crypto. If this was completely correlated in an instant, crypto would be freaking flying now. Is there some lag? I don't care. Right? You can see this was dropping, BTC was dropping. Do you really think that this candle, this move, big move, is just only this for crypto? Crypto was rising here with DXY. People didn't say anything, that the correlation was broken. DXY was chopping all this time from November to pretty much now that has retested this. What has crypto BTC done? From the very bottom at 15K to 110K, while DXY was rising as well. DXY started going down, BTC as well. Where's the correlation, man? This is USDT. So if I open USDT and remove all this for a second, compare it to BTC, you're gonna see that this is like a mirror reflection. See? BTC bottoms, builds strength, USD tops, builds weakness, pumps, retrace, chops down, chops up, breaks down, pumps. It's the opposite. Of course it is. That's why we need a high for crypto, all-time high, and hopefully below 377 for USDT. I mean, do we really need to break this to make all-time high? No, new money is coming in, right? So that's why USDT dominance, market cap is also important, because if it's increasing, that's good. Let me just look for that. I don't know the ticker. Yes, market cap. Right, I'm going to remove BTC for a second. We can see the market cap has been increasing since January, March, April, right? And here we have this big spike in April. So it has been increasing for the whole cycle, just with some drawdowns here, but it's been increasing, and now it's picking up again. Look at this spike here in January. Yeah, BTC topped for a little bit, but I mean, it keeps going up, right? What's the matter with this? I mean, it's good. More USDT money, but at the same time, it is losing dominance. It means that that money that's entering in the market, it's not staying in USDT. It's being deployed in BTC and perhaps some alts for now, right? So this is going to be the key chart. If you have some questions or doubts about it, you can ask me on Twitter, and I will update it in the next video, or perhaps in just some replies. But this is the chart I'm going to be looking at. This is the daily, in which I created this range, but this is my I have lost it for a second. Anyway, this is the macro chart that I'm going to be using, right? This is the one that I'm going to be using and updating for the whole cycle. And for smaller plays like weekly cycles, the daily. But again, this has proven to be extraordinarily useful for confluence and potential levels for BTC. Right? Again, we might reach these 373, 75, 77, whatever, something like that. And BTC might be at 140K, 130K, 120K. I don't know. But I will see the reaction here, the strength here, the strength from BTC, whatever. And this could be very big confluence. Perhaps we have some, imagine we see these on the daily, right? We see these going down. We have a candle with a wick rejected here, and we have this. And now here I say, okay, perhaps these people are not seeing in BTC price, but these could be turning, because it's the first time it goes below, and not just a fake out, it got rejected. Perhaps this is huge, and we visit the next level, right? After being rejected here, it opens the door for this next level. Imagine BTC dominance is starting to roll over on the weekly as well. We have seen this various divergence, so it all starts making sense. But perhaps we need to wait 2 months, whatever. Does it really matter if you end the year, if you get all your money on July or August, or even more in December? Does it really matter? I think what matters is making the most. So let BTC run. We haven't seen BTC dominance dropping at all significantly this cycle, while BTC is around 100K. Again, we might not be ready for what's to come, right? So we will monitor it, and we will see what's going on and what signs we find for selling or potentially holding, because the things get going. I don't want you to take anything I say as financial advice, because it isn't. I'm just showing what I see, and I apply it to my strategy. Again, we don't have the same risk appetite, the same strategy, the same goals, the same entries. Just gonna say what I see, and perhaps I will share when I sell. But I don't want you to take that as a sell warning, right? I don't want anyone anyone to tell me you said this and then it kept pushing, or you said it was good and then it dropped. I hope no one does that. I believe we are all mature people, but we are grown up, but who knows. Anyway, I don't want to make this longer. I hope it was useful, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.